especially with so Scott, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off to you if you want to introduce yourself first off, and then you can go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. I'll go through just briefly my personal story and my professional story, and then I'll give you a little bit of what's worked in these sessions, is to give you a little bit of insight into retention and kind of some of the behind-the-scenes stuff maybe that you may not be aware of. And then I'll open up for questions and see if there's anything specific you guys want to know more about. Sorry that the baby's here. My wife had to fly out tonight, and now I get to see what you guys go through probably on a lot of your calls during the day. So it'll be a good change for me. So my name is Scott Tremitiere. I'm the Executive Director of Retention Engagement and Coach Relations at Beachbody. For those of you who know who Lewis Ross is, Lewis was the VP of Coach Relations and supporting the network through the Diamond line, which is for 5-star and above coaches, and the Comp Gen lines that support obviously the majority of the people that call in with questions. He departed from Beachbody, and at least for now, I'm running that portion of the business along with my regular job, which is engagement and retention. And a little bit about me personally. I grew up in a family of 15 kids, so eating wasn't really something that we learned much about. It was more of a survival, and you ate basically whatever you could, and it wasn't healthy, balanced meals and things like that. As I got older, that caught up to me, because in my 20s and 30s, I put on weight. I worked out a lot. I coached football, and I still was, fairly active from a workout perspective. But if you don't eat right, it's gonna hurt you. And so in 2010, I was about 270 pounds, and I met my now wife, who's from India. That's important to the story, because the first time the Indian culture is a lot more direct than we are. So the first time she saw me without my shirt on, she said, you have good shoulders, you could have a good body if you weren't so fat. And I told her, I said, you can't say it like that in America. You can say I'm big boned, or, maybe you should eat a salad once in a while, but you can't just tell me I'm fat. But it worked. But she also knew that I was solutions oriented. So she said, but I have the solution for you. It's called Atkins. You can eat all the bacon cheeseburgers that you want. You just can't have the bun. I said, that's my kind of diet. Sign me up. Where do I get started? So I did Atkins for a short period of time. For those of you who don't know, that starves your body of carbs, and it actually tries to trick your body into burning fat, and the ultimate goal is that it will burn your own fat. It works to a certain degree. I lost 30 pounds on that, but then you plateau out, and obviously it's not healthy. Any diet that tells you not to eat fruit and vegetables is probably not a good diet to stay on long term. And then I got into Body for Life, and Body for Life is a lot like our 21-day fix. Eating small meals, grazing, well-balanced meals, and working out in an interval training type environment. And then I got heavy into HIITs. So when I got introduced to the high intensity interval workouts, I really started to, and eating right, I started to shed the pounds. My introduction to Beachbody came when about 2012, I went to India, and my son, who is a personal trainer and now a Beachbody coach, 2 months old, into the Beachbody coach, not this son. I also have a 24-and-a-half-year-old. Go figure. So I have a 24-and-a-half-year-old and a 9-month-old. Not the best of planning. Matt planned it out a lot better with the 9, 6, 4, 2, or whatever the spread was. But my son wanted to do Insanity every day. So here he and I are in the middle of Delhi in a small gym doing Insanity, and a crowd would gather around to watch us because, as you know, it's insane. And they don't work out quite that hard in India, so it was a treat for them. And then several months later, I came home from work one day, and this happens, I'm sure it may even happen to some of you, but happens all over the place. The average customer for Shakeology is a 39-year-old female with 2 kids and a job. That's not our target audience. That's just, if you take all the customers, that's what they look like. And I'm married to one of those, right? She has 1 kid, but she's 39. She has a kid. So I'm part of the target audience because I'm the husband. So I come home from work harmlessly enough, and she goes, it was 30 days before our annual trip to India, so she's got to get in shape, right, to see her family. She said, I signed us up for 21-day fix today, and we're going to start Shakeology, and, it's going to be here in a couple of days. Not only do we get the Shakeology, but we can get these cool plastic containers to measure stuff, and blah, blah, blah. And I asked the question that every other husband in that situation would ask, which is, how much, right? I mean, that's all I'm interested in is the price. She said, it's $300, but before you freak out, you know, you're not going to have to buy lunch. And plus we get these containers I was telling you about and all this other stuff. So it's going to be well worth it. So I said, all right, let's get started. And since then, I have loved doing Shakeology. I started to really then accelerate it. I got down from the 270 down to 195 for my wedding weight, right? I mean, everyone has that goal to look as good as possible in their wedding pictures. All life was good. Then we moved from Fort Lauderdale. I got actually the SVP of customer service I used to work for at American Express. So he called me. We finally made a deal. I came to Los Angeles to work for Beachbody. We had the baby. And then when the baby was 3 weeks old, I was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, which is, there's no early detection for that. So typically when somebody finds out they have that, it's a death sentence because they're normally in their 70s or 80s, and there's not much that they can do at that time. I was very fortunate to catch it early enough that we could treat it. So I went in last fall into 6 weeks of chemo and radiation, which my body was able to handle very, very well because I was in great shape. So I didn't have a lot of the problems that people have when they have chemo and radiation, even the fatigue of having a small baby, and that wasn't too much for me. Then we waited 6 weeks, and then I had the surgery to remove my entire esophagus, which is a major surgery, which went well. That was on Thanksgiving. But 4 days later, while I was still in the hospital, still with staples in my incision, I had a coughing attack, which was about 200 pounds of torque on my abs, and it ripped apart everything that they had done. So I went into emergency surgery, and now this is the important part of the story. I wouldn't have survived the second surgery in 4 days. The doctor's words, had my core not been in as good of shape as it was. In fact, he had somebody just 3 months before in the same situation that passed during the second surgery. So, you know, to me, working out is not just about getting in shape and looking good, although it was for a good portion of my life. It's about staying alive, and you never know what's going to happen and preparing yourself for that. Unfortunately, they found I was stage 3C, so now I'm back into a very aggressive chemo to just make sure that there's nothing there. And for the first time in my life, I'm trying to gain weight. So it's a kind of a weird switch around because my wife is desperately trying to lose the baby weight, and I'm desperately trying to gain weight. I'm down 40 pounds from when I went into the hospital for the surgery because I spent 20 days in the hospital, and laying in a hospital bed for 20 days, even an Olympic athlete would lose the majority of their muscle mass at that time. But the good news is that I'm healthy. I'm handling the chemo well. And when I'm done the chemo in July, I'll then be able to really build my body back up the way I want it to be. And I have the advantage now of a small stomach, because when they take your esophagus out, they actually stretch your stomach all the way up to your neck. And so my stomach is tiny, so I'm not going to be able to eat like I did before, which I'm looking at as a positive. And you have to graze and eat small meals throughout the day. So that's my personal story, and how the reason why I ended up at Beachbody was a lot because my personal story and trying to drive fitness. My son lost 100 pounds. You know, I didn't raise him necessarily to eat the right way, obviously, because I wasn't eating the right way. But he has really turned that around on his own since he turned 17. And then my professional journey was that for 14 years I ran contact centers, and I did retention for a number of DR companies in the 80s and 90s. And then I went to Amex, and for 14 years I ran retention and engagement at American Express. That's important to you because a big portion of American Express is the open small business network. And our motto there was to help small businesses do more business. I've taken that same motto into the coach network and say our motto is to help our valued coaches increase and improve their business. That's what we're here for. That's what, when you call Diamond Line, when you call CompGen, if you call tech support, if you call Shakeology or one of the continuity lines, what I want you to get is an experience that increases and improves your business. We find, we want to know how we're doing to help people achieve their goals. We want to know what we can do better to do that. So I've been at Beachbody since March of 2015, so a little over a year ago, about 14 months now, and absolutely love it. I don't love that there's still challenges, but when you look at where we are today to where we were when I got there, there is a lot of improvement since then. I mean, we were talking a year ago about We should have some apps. We should have some early engagement strategies. We should have all these other things to do, because retention, if you think about retention, you think of it at the time when somebody decides to cancel. That's a bad way to look at it, because the at attrition point is very difficult to convince someone that they want to do the opposite of what they think they want to do, and to do it in a way that delights them, because I'm also accountable to the customer satisfaction. It's possible, and we're doing a pretty good job at it, but it's a lot more difficult than if I just acquire the right people, right? Or engage them early on and continuously engage them throughout the process, understanding what motivates them, what drives them, and what keeps them going. So a couple people have asked in these past sessions, what is the training strategy against these agents? So you guys understand, we have 500 agents in Manila that basically handle anybody that calls in around Shakeology or Beachbody on Demand. The majority of them are calling to cancel, but not everybody. Some people are choosing to modify still by phone, or postpone, or do other things, even with Beachbody on Demand. But although you can do those things in self-service, and we prefer them to do it in self-service. And then we have another 300 agents or so in Baja, Mexico, where we also handle a little bit of this work as well. And then the e-service work is all handled in India. So my job is to take the passion that I have for Beachbody, or let's say the passion that Carl and John have in Santa Monica, and to get agents that are on the phones in the front lines to have that same passion when people call in. So we follow a strategy that actually is probably pretty much what you do. I have called it Alive with Passion, and what the Alive stands for is acknowledge, learn, inspire, value, and engage. So we want to acknowledge the customer and make them know that they're in the hands of a professional, find out really what it is that we need to do to help them. We want to learn about them and figure out if the product or service they're in is the right product or service for them to be in. Then we want to inspire them and show them the value of the product by using testimonials, by using information of what our customers say, by teaching them about the competitors and what separates us from the competitors. And also the value is about not just valuing them as a customer, but the value of the products and services. And then ultimately the value of speaking to me as an agent, because I speak to hundreds of customers every week. And nobody can possibly speak to as many people as the frontline agents do. So they want to take the information that they learn from others and teach those that need to know that. And then finally, the most important is to engage them. Our goal is to save as many people as we can, but we want to save them in a way that they're going to use the product. And what we've been able to prove is that we're doing a better job of that than what the acquisition process does. Aside from a coach bringing someone on individually, which is the best retention or the best average turns for Shakeology, about 7.14 turns, I think, when a coach brings somebody on. But, a customer that just comes in and signs up only lasts about 3 turns. And they only last for 3 turns on Shakeology because let's assume that they use it 4 times a week. And in my busy life, I'm lucky to use it 4 times a week. I did forget to say one thing. I love Shakeology, but I actually can't drink Shakeology while I'm on chemo, because it's too good. So the antioxidants in Shakeology are actually too strong and can counteract the chemo. So my oncologist has required that I not drink it. So I can't wait to drink. In fact, after my surgery, I do have a picture of drinking my first Shakeology in the hospital bed. I can't wait to have my first one in July when the chemo is done, because it really does make me feel a lot better. And again, this was long before I was a Beachbody employee that I became addicted to Shakeology. So what happens is they get the bag. You guys know this, but I'm just going to articulate it for the purpose of the story. They get their first bag. They drink it 4 days a week. So at the end of that month, and they think 4 days is good, and it probably is pretty good. At the end of the month, they have a third of a bag left. And now they get not the introductory, but now they get the $120 or whatever the price is for them. And they get a new bag. And they're like, okay. And they keep going down that path. At the end of the second month, they've got 2/3 of a bag left. And they get another bag and another $120 bill. And they're like starting to get a little bit annoyed with how fast this Shakeology is coming. And at the end of the third month, they've now got a full bag. We send them another bag, and they get another 120 bills. And that's when most of them say no mas. And they call in, and they say they want to cancel, although that's not really what they want to do. They just are overwhelmed they think they have too much product. So they want to get that situation rectified. So we take them through then a process of building the value in the Shakeology. And once we re-engage them in the product, we will oftentimes postpone them. But our goal is to get them on the right frequency that matches their consumption level, so that they are always almost out when it comes. That's what you want, right? You want them to be a little desperate and a little worried that they're going to run out of Shakeology. Then they look forward to it coming. We're going to satisfy that. Another thing that I wanted when I got here was, why don't we pre-notify people by email when Shakeology is going out? Or for that matter, any of the continuity shipments. It could be Performance Line or anything else. And we are now, next month, June, we'll start sending emails a week ahead of time. So people have the opportunity then, if they want to modify something or if they want to change something, or if they want to cancel, to call before the product actually goes out, so that we can re-engage them at that point. Or they can do some self-service if they want to just change the flavor or things like that. It's the right thing to do. And we have proven that it has not increased the cancellation rate. I will also tell you that from a save rate perspective, we save overall 35% of the people that call in. But on the coach side, we save about 55%. So we're very successful when coaches call in to cancel, and less successful about in the 28 to 30% range when customers call in to cancel. But still, fairly successful. On Beachbody On Demand, most people are calling in because they haven't used it. They don't know. They've got this 30-day trial. Then they get hit with this $38.87 bill that they don't understand, and they call them to cancel. We're very successful at then re-engaging them, but we re-engage them with an extension of their trial period. And then ultimately, more people are sticking on Shakeology than on BOD. That's fine for you guys because Shakeology is where your money is made, right? I mean, you're not making that much on Beachbody On Demand, although it's a phenomenal product with, if you talk about a product that's well worth the price, Beachbody On Demand definitely falls into that category. I hope I'm not boring you like I bored this guy to sleep, because he fell asleep since I started with this. But I want to talk about coach cancellation just for a minute, then I'll stop and answer any questions that you have. The sad part is that we do have 15,000 coaches cancel every month. That's actually gone up since the new coach cancellation process, where we took away that you had to fax in a form and made it so that you just can, do a wet signature. But here's the good news about it. You don't hear about all these coaches leaving because we always take 4 steps forward and 3 steps back, so we focus on the 1 step forward. But 35% of them cancel because they're too busy, no time to commit. Another 35% cancel because they say financial hardship. So 70% of them fall into those 2 categories. And your job is obviously to engage them and show them the value and drive them. Lack of sponsor engagement is only 1% of the cancellation business. So that's fantastic. No value is only 1%, and low profit is only 2%. Unable to recruit participants is 3%, but you can see the combination of all of those miscellaneous categories is still very insignificant compared to too busy, no time to commit, and financial hardship. So those are the things, I tell you that because those are the things that they're saying when they cancel. So those are the things we should be addressing from the very beginning and making sure that we get people set up for success. At Amex, I owned everything from acquisition through retention because I was able to convince American Express that retention starts before you bring them in. And unfortunately, what Beachbody does is bring in this many people, and then we kind of hold on to them as they try to leave, which is sad because we have the most awesome products and services out there at the right price. American Express brings in this many people, highly qualified, and then they build lifelong relationships with them. And the truth is probably somewhere in between, right? We need to be really good about bringing people in and educating them and getting them signed up, at least the phone process of that is not great. You guys do a great job, but the phone, when you call in from an infomercial, that process is not great. And then from the early engagement standpoint, we're now sending emails, maybe too many and maybe not the right ones, but we're working on that. Sending emails to engage them early on. Beachbody On Demand is definitely a better tool to engage them. The My Challenge tracker is awesome to be able to track them. I know it has issues, but I'm saying the theory and the philosophy behind it is amazing. So all of these tools will continue to come out and be helpful to you. So you still have wind in your face. The wind in your face is around shipping problems. The wind in your face is to some degree around some policies that we have. To some degree, my teams, right? I told you I wanted them all to be alive with passion. They're not all alive with passion, but we're getting there. I've done a great job, I think, of building a fitness culture in the Philippines where they actually do the Beachbody On Demand, where they love size. So we have video competitions with them. I mean, size is just perfect for them. But they do the other, exercises too. When I'm out there, I lead T25 classes. They call me T50 over there. at least before the cancer, they called me T50. I don't know what they'll call me now, probably like T5 or something to see how long I can make it. But we're building that culture, so it'll continue to get better from where it is today. But I think that's a good exposure to what we do and what we're looking at behind the scenes. But I'll be more than happy to answer any more specific questions that you might have. And I got a chance last week to go to Utah and spend time with the sales team. And they kind of schooled me a lot about what the top coaches think about as well. So why don't I stop talking and listen? Or you can chat in a question if you prefer. I think you can do that.
Both options are available. So feel free to unmute yourself, guys, and ask any questions you have for Scott.
I look good see, this is the problem when you have cancer, just so you guys know. Hopefully you'll never experience it, but people always say you look good, but they're always grading on a curve. So I don't know when that curve ends, and then I have to go back to the normal way that it was before.
I have a question. Is there anything on the COO or any training that kind of gives you a guideline on retention? Because you mentioned early engagement, and yes, that is what we try to do. But I don't know, maybe something that is common and we don't see coming and we could address in advance?
Yeah, that's a great question that came out of the meeting last week with the sales team. So I'm going to be getting together with the training teams on the network side, and we're going to synergize what training that we do have that we use in order to help you. Because what the training looks like is, and it's all around product knowledge and product belief. That's what we focus on. And so, one of the challenges internationally is we want them to experience the product every day, so they're going to believe in it and they're going to sell it more. That's easier said than done on Beachbody On Demand. They do all have access to Beachbody On Demand and they can use it all the time. Shakeology is tougher because even if you put the cost aside, which I don't have the luxury of doing, but Customs gives us a hard time. We finally got enough Shakeology in Manila for 500 agents to take it every day. But the boost they will not allow the boost to go through Customs because there's an ingredient boost that the government doesn't like, but they can't tell us which one it is. So we don't really know if we'll be able to get around that. I do want to say, by the way, we're starting an upsell. We'll upsell people to boost when it makes sense as well, which will also help you. We're also going to sell Beachbody On Demand. I'm calling it relevant value insights, not cross-sell and upsell, but we're going to be engaging customers at a deeper level, just like I did at American Express, because we want to maximize their relationship where it makes sense and where it's relevant. But to answer your question, there will be some training coming. But, I don't know exactly how much it'll help you because you have the critical components needed for the success now. I think if I were a coach, for me, because I live in a world of assessments, so for me it's more important to know something about the coach that you're bringing in that can help you lead them, right? So I need to know if they're a self-starter or if they need a lot of hand-holding because not everyone's going to be the same. So I do a lot of assessments of my agents to figure out the right way to groom them and lead them. I think what I want to talk to the network about is that we do something similar to that. Make it fun for them. I mean, we can use gamification to make it very fun for the coaches, and we can analyze the way they think at the same time, and then feed that information back to their uplines so that you can then, lead them effectively. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to save everybody. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. The majority of the people that are canceling are discount coaches. They're not canceling because of their coach experience. They're canceling the continuity, so then it doesn't make sense for them to pay the BSF, right? I mean, at that time. And so it's really going after, for the discount coaches, which I don't know what % of your team might be in that boat. But I know, by the way, a lot of the top Star Diamond coaches started out as discount coaches. So that's a good way to bring people in. And we try to educate customers also to that, because they can save money if they want to. But at the end of the day, it's knowing the product, believing in the product, and understanding the competitors. That part can get, changes every day. And it depends on who you're talking to. Like my son's a millennial. And so he has a harder time with the Shakeology unless he goes after afternoon coffee replacement, things like that. He has a lot more success with the performance line because he's in the gym all the time and understanding that, BOD and working out is fine, but performance line supplements really can help you achieve your goals if your goal is to look more muscular and to build muscle and things like that. So I think it's really just we spend a lot of time learn is not about asking questions. Learn is about asking the right questions in the right way, getting the information and doing something with that information that addresses the issue with that customer. And that's the same way we learn and we bridge into inspire, because people are not inspired just because you're fired up about something. They're going to be inspired at their level. I mean, it's like buying a car, right? If you go in to buy a car and the guy just comes up to you and wants to sell you the car he makes the most money on, and he's really passionate about that, you're not going to be feeling him. But if he comes up and just asks you, what do you need in this car? Are you interested in safety, or do you need the bells and whistles? And if that ends up him selling you the car on the lot that he only makes $100 off, then so be it. Because that's the best thing for you, and that's going to make you leave the car lot happy. So those are the kind of things that we talk about. Now we'll figure out a way to structure that at least in bullet format and coup for people to help. And I do want you to know the competitors. And, you can put our Shakeology against a Jamba Juice, against a vanilla latte, against a V8, whatever you want to put it against, and it's going to come out on top. I saw somebody posted on the wall the other day something about a relatively new competitor. Still, even in that scenario, when you break down the ingredients and what's in the Shakeology, it's going to beat them. That may not be true for everything, but for the majority of what people think they're going to use in place of it, any protein shake, any different supplement that they're going to, meal replacement, whatever they're going to take, Shakeology is going to beat it. And as you know, the price is right. It's a very expensive product to make, and so we don't skimp on any of the ingredients. So I don't know if that's helpful to you, Susie, but it's it's something that we're going to dig into, and hopefully by Summit, maybe hopefully we can have some additional training around retention for you.
Yeah, I was thinking something about like frequently asked questions. And as an example, I lost a customer a year ago. She said because she had a reaction to Shakeology. She had an allergy. And at the time, I didn't think of anything, but I could have, and I thought about this a couple of months later, I could have changed her to the vegan flavor.
Yeah. So, yeah, but you bring up a good point. You learn from each one of them that you don't save. You kind of learn from, which is smart. That's failing forward. Right. But when we get into the medical part, even from our end, we can't really push them very hard. Because of legalities, we actually have to pretty soon get them to fill out the form. Some people do have reactions to it, and that's what I mean about you can't save everybody. You couldn't save me right now, but what you can do, because I just can't take it, but what you can do is leave me with a great taste in my mouth for Shakeology, and I'll be back. You know what I mean? That's kind of the strategy that we use. Some of them you have to kind of put in that boat, because even if you were to, on paper, save them, if she still has a reaction, she's not going to come back, right? So I would like to get, in those scenarios, we'd like to get them a couple samples of the vegan to see if it works for them. And those are some of the things that we try to do. So, I think that would be helpful. And if you can't do that, maybe we can set it up so that when they call, you can have them call in and we can do that. That's what we're working hard on, because you can't get somebody to commit to a 30-day bag if they had a bad reaction to the first. It's hard enough to get them to commit to a 30-day bag of a different flavor if they didn't like the texture of the vanilla, right, as an example. And we know, though, that some people don't like vanilla but love the chocolate. It's just not, again, that what I'm talking about, trying to get someone to do the opposite of what they think they want to do. And you've gone through those experiences yourself, calling in probably to cancel cell service or cable service or something else. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it can be done. I think if I were a coach, and what I tell my son is that, and you guys do this. I'm not insinuating you don't do this, but it's all about just constantly communicating with them. And I know as your teams grow, that gets harder and harder to do. And thinking of multiple ways to do that. Stay ahead of the social media, fiasco, which is obviously we're pretty hard on the Facebook platform, but there's other options too. I know a lot of you guys use Instagram. A lot of the younger people are using Snapchat because it's the only, I shouldn't say the only because I don't know everything. It's one of the only honest channels that are out there because you can doctor pictures and things like that in both Facebook and Instagram. None of you guys have, but I'm saying some coaches do. But if you're doing like a challenge, for example, and you want them to know exactly what you're doing and you want them to believe in that, Snapchat is the only one that you couldn't doctor because it has to be something that happens right then. It goes out. So from a credibility standpoint, my son has found that that's been helpful around the millennials who, you guys know, are a little skeptical anyways, kind of, about everything. So just whatever the ideas are to constantly don't just use one format. I would always be pushing the envelope. And I know for me personally, I'm always looking at what's the next thing that's going to be out there and then be an early adopter to those things because they're being created for a good reason. And figure out if that makes sense in your business model or if it doesn't make sense in your business. And then the recognize is, as a high school football coach, I think that's huge. And I was so glad to see that become a core value because when I came here, it wasn't. And we talked a lot about the encouragement side is so important. And, really making people feel good about what they're doing and kind of supplementing their own feelings of feeling good about it is critically important. And there's a lot of ways you can do that and figure out ways to encourage people that don't even have to cost you anything, right?
Scott, did you see the question on the chat?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did see it light up. I was like, what's that? I'm not that good at this.
I can read it out for you.
That's a great question. It has to do with, and we just sat down. There's a new head of I didn't go into this, but there's a new head of the distribution centers, and the where we have all these made, and there are restrictions and things that don't seem to make sense that are actually caused by the creation and the teams that actually make the products. So I'm going to assume that was one of them. But if you'll allow me to, I'm going to take that question away. I'm just typing it into my phone. And I will follow up with Matt and send you a follow-up to that because I'm going to have to ask an expert that question. Okay? I can tell you why the digestive health boost is bigger than the other boosts. I can tell you that. It's more soluble, whatever that means.
Yeah, we always hate it when we run out of our Energize. It's the worst.
Well, at least that one has more. I think for me, there's 40 servings, but you might only have 20 because you weigh more.
Yeah, I take two scoops and then Tracy and I share, but
yeah,
we need to double up on that really.
Yeah, Boosts has been good. And anybody using Performance Line or no?
Yeah, we use it.
Yeah, and see, I have to be careful because I can't tell you guys things that aren't. But you'll see there's some cool things, some cool partnerships coming out on Performance Line that are going to help us a lot. I'll just say that. I don't want to get fired by doing this call either. You know what I'm saying? I got to, like George Bush said, I got to put food on my family.
Did I hear you, Scott, say, because one of the things I've noticed is a lot of times people will say, I've got 2 or 3 bags built up. Did I hear you say correctly that in terms of frequency, they can set that up automatically so it comes every 6 weeks or 8 weeks or?
Yeah, well, I wish it was automatically. Eventually it will be. And, technology with Beachbody is way behind. But, they didn't plan on being a $1.5 billion company. That's the problem that we've had. So we're trying to become that, and it's harder. And you're being held accountable to Amazon, right? And other companies that do it so well, and that, that we're just not at that level yet. But For that perspective, it looks like it's self-service. They click the modification button and they'll change the frequency, but then we actually have to have, it doesn't actually happen right away. We actually have a team in India that then satisfies it. But it should seem pretty seamless to the customer. But yeah, they can change but if they're not happy with their options there, they should call in because the agent may have more options to put them on. We really want to get, there's a couple options, right? You can get them on the 24 individual packs instead of the 30 if that's better for them. That's another way to do it. The most popular is the most popular Shakeology situation is to alternate chocolate and strawberry every other month. That happens to be what keeps people the longest. But getting a little bit of a variety, maybe the multiple packs if they're swarming in product, but at least to get them down to extend that to a 45-day. We experiment a lot with smaller bags because I do believe that, and maybe you guys can ask each other, but I believe that 4 days a week is a power user, and that's different than 7 days a week, maybe 4 or 5. Nobody at Beachbody will admit that to Carl when Carl's in the room, but when Carl leaves, then it's like, yeah, I do 4 or 5 because on the weekend it's a little harder with the kids and my wife, and that's just the reality. I'm being honest. I would tell Carl that I drink it 4 or 5 days a week. I try to drink it 7, but some days it just doesn't happen. So being able to solve for that, because it is an uncomfortable, obviously, situation for the customer if they've got 2 or 3 bags laying around and we keep billing them $120 a month. That's not the way it should work. And by the way, home direct is what we want them to be on, but not everybody's going to go for home direct. Carl's own father will not do home direct. He just refuses to do it. And so if Carl can't convince his father to do it, there's going to be people that we have a hard time convincing as well. It doesn't take away from the product or their love of the product. My sister won't do it, but she does order, every 45 days or so. So, it's really trying to look at that individual and figuring out, don't try to necessarily force them into what we want them to do. Get them into what's most comfortable for them. And then it's not going to be so hard for them every month, right? Or every month and a half, or even if it's every 2 months, you'd be better off if they use it half the time and they're only getting every 2 months. You're still better off than if they cancel. Right. So looking at it from that aspect, as opposed to, and most coaches do look at it that aspect. Some coaches, and this is what the sales team told me, some coaches just come right out like the business side and forget about the fact that you've got to put people in a situation to be successful. And I'm talking about people, meaning coaches and customers that are downline from you. You've got to put them in a situation to be comfortable in their own, whatever their lifestyle is and whatever their requirements are, so that they don't just constantly try to leave. And then, like I said at the beginning, we try to hold on to them while they leave. We have too good of a products, too good of services at the right price to be holding on to people while they're leaving. They should be figuring out ways to, stay. And, even what drives me insane is if somebody calls in and says, I want to cancel my Shakeology, and then we'll ask them, well, what were your goals? And by the way, the main goals for Shakeology, the customers say, is to lose weight, to get in shape, and to increase focus. And the increased focus is important because that's what we go after. If I want to not do a meal replacement, but do a coffee replacement or a latte replacement, I'll talk about this is going to give you, and by the way, the Shakeology has some caffeine. The chocolate has more caffeine, if that's what they need. But I don't use it for the caffeine. I just get an energy boost from it just from feeling great. So I have been able to replace my afternoon coffee that way. But, understanding what their goals are, and then how are we doing to help you achieve that goal? And then when they say, well, my goal was to lose 10 pounds for my wedding, and I did that, I don't get that, right? What is your goal now? To put the 10 pounds back on? I mean, I can't say this to the customer, but that's what naturally will come to mind, right? Why would you, Body for Life, Bill Phillips says that, and there's a cheat day in Body for Life. I don't know if you guys know anything about Body for Life, but there's a cheat day there, which is as mental and is mental and physical. And the point is that if you have a cheat day, you're going to work hard the other 6 days to enjoy that cheat day. But he says that if you've been walking your whole life and your back is hurt, and I teach you to walk the right way and your back doesn't hurt, it doesn't make sense to me why you would then go back to walking so that your back would hurt. And that's kind of the way that I think we approach these customers and coaches. If somebody truly wants to lose weight or get in shape, these are the right products and services for them to do that. And so then it's just a matter of getting them engaged and getting them to do it so that they can see the results. And I don't care what age they are. I'll just tell you what Alive with Passion sounds like this, right? A customer called, and I take calls when I'm in Manila because I want them to see what it sounds like. And the guy called in on Beachbody On Demand. And I said, well, why would you want to cancel? I mean, this is such a phenomenal product. Why would you want to cancel that? That's the shock and awe that you have to have when somebody wants to cancel. Why would you want to cancel this? Nobody calls to cancel this. Why would you want to? He said, well, I'm 66 and my doctor says I can't do half the workouts on there. I said, well, that's great that you're 66 and you can do half the workouts that are on there. I mean, there's over 400 workouts on there and over $4,000 worth of retail value. All of our celebrity trainers are on there. And you can sort it if you just want to do a quick workout or whatever it is. But here's what I would tell you to do. First of all, I talk to people all the time in their 60s and 70s that are now in the best shape of their lives. And what I would ask you to do is just watch the modifier that's on each one of those workouts. And they're going to go at a slower pace. They're going to do less impact than the main guys and just follow them. And you know what, if what they're doing is too hard, just get up and just walk in place or just move, do something. And then you'll be surprised in 3 weeks where you are. You'll be shocked in 3 months where you are. You'll be like, why would I want to cancel a product that's $12.95 a month that allows me to have this much access to all of this fitness? And I said, you know, and that was the conversation. Of course, he then was excited about it and went back and tried it. And I just happened to check the other day just because I'm curious. And it's been 11 months and he's still on Beachbody On Demand. So, you know, understanding what the problem is and then being able to speak intelligently about that, I think is very, very, that's what I'm trying to teach people to do. And that's the way that I've learned over 30 years. I've been sick in this retention world for 30 years, but my goal now is to share as much of that, what I've learned over those 30 years with people so that you can increase and improve your business and you can make money and hopefully just stay at home and hold a baby that is so cute and sleepy. Let me show you, in case you guys don't believe me. It's so precious. And look at that hair. Okay, don't wake up now. Come here. So I don't know if that helps, Matt, but that's what I...
That's great.
If I had hair like this, I'd be in the movies, by the way. You wouldn't even be talking to me. I'd be like Richard Gere. On the curve. Graded on the curve, granted. Not normal. Any more questions? Or answers? I actually prefer answers. So if you have either, I'll settle for that. Nope. Okay. Well, we don't need to keep you all night. I know it's only 6-something here. It's later where you guys are. So Thank you so much for the opportunity and the chance. And keep up the great work you guys are doing. You guys are so important to us. And hope to meet some of you at Summit. I didn't get to go last year because he wouldn't tell me what day he was going to be born. So it turns out I could have been to Summit. And I could have got one of those guitars, which I do play guitar, but I don't have a Beachbody guitar. But he didn't tell me when he was going to be born, so I had to stick around, you know, because it would be kind of wrong to do a business trip when my wife's 9 months. You know, Matt, you've done it 4 times. I've only done it twice.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story, Scott, and all the nuggets that you shared with us. We look forward to seeing your celebratory Shakeology once you get to that point.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you.